Are we truly seeing the future in the stars and numbers, or are we just filling patterns after the fact? Hey guys, it's John sitting here in my studio having a fabulous mug of water because I'm still on my water fast. And I wanted to hop in here and talk about this idea of the pattern seeking mind. What if I told you that your mind is creating connections, not the universe? You are the creator of your experience. This is my belief. This is my truth. And it's played out very clearly many times over. What I find interesting about the pattern seeking mind is that we as human species are always looking for patterns. We're always looking for why things are happening or trying to find ways of predicting what will happen next. And the interesting thing about that idea is it's out of our timeline. We only live in the present moment, and the power of this present moment is the importance of your own personal creation in life. I had a very good friend of mine years ago who I had been reading a book about numerology, and they told you how to break your numbers down to, and I became a 33-6 and all this stuff. And we're all sitting around one night and we're doing the numbers and we figure out whose numbers what. And we read the description of what their numbers meant. And then after we finished the whole thing, and each one of us was like, "Wow, that's amazing! How close that was to our life and who we are and our life attributes." And we finished the entire thing, and each one of us was like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And after we finished, we discovered that my friend's wife, her numbers were done wrong, and her number was something else. And then we went and read that chapter, and then she was able to find patterns in that chapter. They they were both something that they could see a pattern that fit their life. And the concept of astrology and um, numerology and even prophecy, the people who are talking prophecy, once again, these things are out of our timeline. But astrology and numerology and things of that nature, those divination tools, are interesting because you sit down with an astrologer or a numerologist, and they say, "Well, look at this. This is what happened. This when you were about 30. This happened." And then you go, "Oh, so that what was that like when I started?" And you go searching for the pattern to meet the reading, and you find it. You find the pattern that meets the reading because your pattern seeking mind is looking for the solution to what was just presented to you. This idea of being truly present is something that's found in all spiritual texts. I am being in the here and now, right? That you are creating your future, you're creating your experience. These concepts of astrology and numerology take that power away from you. It takes free will away from you. It says that these things are going to happen and these things have happened in your past because of these numbers or these stars. But the pattern seeking mind is looking for validation of your life and trying to predict the future. But if you're creating your future, as the Bhagavad Gita says, thought by thought you forge your destiny, and Buddha says, what you think you become, you create your world. That means none of these divination things can be predictive. They can't tell you that these things are going to happen unless you choose to believe it's predictive. Once you believe it's predictive, then you are in creation mode. You are creating something that'll fit the pattern of what you've been told. But that takes the power away from you because now you're told what your future is and you're told that these things are going to happen. What I find really interesting, there was a video that came out just recently, and it was all these astrologers and numerologists and mystics that were predicting the split in humanity in 2025. That split in humanity, that end times, that change, that ascension has been predicted year after year after year after year after year. And the only thing they've all had in common is that they've all been wrong. They've all been wrong for years and years and years. Now they're saying, "Oh my gosh, we're going to have this horrible split in humanity. We're going to have this ascension into 5D. We're going to have." They're telling you these things for then you to look for the pattern so that it fits your life. Rather than seeking external validation, why not set into creating what your future is? All of the texts say that is your power. That is what you have within you. That the world is an outer reflection of your inner belief. Our brains are wired to find the meaning in randomness. But how about taking randomness and giving it meaning? Take the randomness and say, this randomness is mine to wield. I can take this randomness of this universe and declare my life and create my experience. Oftentimes people will look at their horoscope or their numbers and say, this was so spot on, because they've seen the pattern. There's a particular activating system within us that gives us if we believe in something, the mind filters to try to confirm something we believe. You know, when someone gives you a reading, they're looking in hindsight, they're saying, this happened at this date, and they look for these patterns for you to make the connection. Numerology, astrology systems often make, broad statements that we fill in with our own ideologies, with our own experiences. And then we try to see a pattern. And when we find that pattern, we then lean into a belief. And then that belief becomes creative because our mind has created the pattern. The stars, the numbers, they're just stars and numbers. And the idea of the stars and numbers telling you what your future is literally taking the power away from you, and you have the ability to create anything. I am a perfect example. I've done almost everything I've ever wanted to do in life, you know, and the only time that I've ever seen anybody who has been really spot on was a woman who I knew many years ago named Tara Hatton, and she predicted something that I didn't see coming, but it was very interesting because in that experience, I had already had in my consciousness this other person who was already doing this thing that, basically corporate speaking. I never could have seen myself in the corporate world doing corporate speaking, but she literally saw me in the corporate world doing corporate speaking, bringing spirituality to the corporate world, which is what I did, right? But at that moment in time when she was reading that and she got that idea and that put that prediction in front of me, she was reading the potential of the moment. I had a friend who was a very successful corporate speaker who came from the Renaissance world just like I did, and it was something that was in my mind. So she was reading the potential of the moment, right? But there is nothing set in your future. The future is malleable substance waiting for your belief. And at that moment, my belief was I could do this and take my skill set and do that. And she was literally able to say, I see you doing this. And she was without a doubt, and still is, an amazing individual who I love dearly, who I absolutely love dearly, and I think she's amazing. She predicted a whole bunch of things, but she doesn't do it as you are destined for this kind of thing. She's reading the moment. She's reading the experience. I think she taps into the oneness and comes to the oneness of each individual and finds that where the energy is flowing in that moment. But when you look at, astrology and numerology and all those things, you know, if someone lays a broad generality out in front of us, we're going to try to find a pattern to create around that situation.
And now, a quick word from our sponsor. Coffee Time with John. This channel runs off coffee, so get your coffee and tea at johnsjoe.com.
This idea and these fear-based predictions of 2025, I don't buy into them. I don't live into them, right? These external systems, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Everything is within you. And the more you rely on external things, you are giving your power away. Why not have a direct connection to God and why not direct your experience? When you put your faith in in astrology or numerology or any of these other things, you're actually taking the power away from yourself. Have you ever had a time when you've noticed a connection in hindsight and realized it wasn't as clear as it seemed? Sometimes we have these connections that we find in life, and we try to look for the pattern even in our own life. I tell stories all the time of manifestations, but all those manifestations had amazing synchronicities within them, but they all started with my present moment choice to believe what I was receiving. It had nothing to do with what the stars were saying I was going to do or what the numbers were saying I was going to do. It had everything to do with me having the power to create my experience. Most people will follow their astrology for a while, and then most people, almost all people, stop reading it because it just starts to get repetitive. It starts to say the same things over and over again. It starts to, and they lose the pattern because the pattern becomes so muddied with the same information over and over again. Numerology, this is what's going to happen in this year. This is what's going to happen in this year. This is what's going to happen in this year. Every time I've had a numerology reading, I've had some pretty interesting ones, some pretty good ones. And not to say there's anything wrong with numerology, but to me, every time I've had one, the reading has been so vague that I could find a pattern in it. And no one said, I would love to have a numerology reading or an astrology reading that said, on September 29th, you're going to have an experience that this is going to happen. And they give you the exact time and date, and they tell you the exact moment, and they say, this is exactly what's going to happen. None of them can do that because all they're telling you is a pattern. And then your mind tries to meet the pattern. So when you look at it from the psychological standpoint, that's exactly what our mind is designed to do. Find the patterns within. What does this mean? We're now trying to find a pattern. So I guess my point is with this video is not to bash astrology, not to bash numerology, but to bring you back to your internal power. Kingdom of heaven is within you. All you need is within your own self. All of these divination tools are giving you a pattern. All of them, that pattern is found in hindsight. They're looking back at your life and they're saying, what happened to you when you were 30? What happened to you when you were 25? And they're giving you these patterns for your mind to fill in. And then what happens is they go, something big is going to happen here. They never give you the exact thing that's going to happen because what they're telling you is a pattern, right? Why are they seeing a pattern? Because they're looking for a pattern. They have been looking for a pattern. And then what happens is people write books about astrology, people write books about numerology, and the people who read these books start seeing, oh, this is what the pattern is. And they started focusing their beliefs on the pattern that they're being shown in these books. And then next thing you know, when they're doing their astrology or their readings, they're measuring against this pattern of their belief. And then they're telling other people, this is the pattern of your belief. And then those people look for a pattern within that pattern. And it just becomes this incestuous cycle of pattern building. Strip everything away. Forget everything you know. Come back to here and now. Come back to this present moment and realize the simple truth that you are a creator. And in this moment, there is no divination tool that can tell you your future unless you believe the future they tell you. You have all the power in the here and now. You have all the power to create an amazing life in the here and now. And when they tell you what your future is going to be, you don't have to believe them. You can create anything, anything. And that is up to you. That is completely up to you. Oftentimes people will want to read my astrology or my stars or my numbers because of my past life story. And they always come back with the story of, well, look at this. This means you're right. Or they go looking for the pattern of John the Beloved in my stars and in my numbers. And they find it because that's the pattern they're looking for. Let go of the pattern. Throw the pattern away. Start creating a life. The if I was a dressmaker and I had a pattern, I would make the same dress as everybody else because it's a pattern. I create the pattern. I create my life. I create my experience. I create the expression of who I am in the here and now, and no star or no number can dictate to me unless I choose to give the stars and the numbers the power to dictate to me. If I put belief in it, I'm going to create from that perspective. But you have free will in every moment of every day. You have the ability to create a life that is joyful, loving, and abundant, healthy, and the pinnacles and the patterns of life are not set. They are yours to create. The world is a blank canvas, and your fertile mind is the palette of choice. And you get to paint on your canvas the painting you want to create. And some people love modern art, and some people love realism, and some people love impressionism, and some people like a mix of all of them. And you have the ability to create whatever art your life wants to express. And so that's my thought on this concept of the pattern seeking mind looking for answers when the answers are in the declarations you choose, not the stars, numbers, or any other divination tool. And when mystics tell you that the future is coming and this is going to be this horrible thing, understand that's the pattern that they're choosing. We don't have to lean into a fearful future ever, ever. Remember that. We have the choice in the now. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See you. Bye.